His peers voted Adams Young Player of the Year. Few outside this room knew Adams the drunk, and none of those inside would have noticed the problem. This was an era of big drinkers. After 4 pints and 6 brandies, he'd negotiated the stairs, but fell at the next hurdle.
It's Tony Adams on the award. I'd like to say thank you to my teammates, John Lukage, Viv Anderson. I'm going to mention them all, by the way, sorry about that. Viv Anderson, Dave O'Leary, Kenny Sampson, all right, steady. Martin Hayes and all the rest of the lads. Thank you very much. Cheers.
I made Tony probably one of the youngest captains in Arsenal's history at 21. He was a leader then, he was always a leader. And it just naturally followed that he would be the next captain, and it just took to it so easily.
By spring 1989, it looked possible that Arsenal could win the League Championship trophy. Only Liverpool stood between them and the silverware. Tony Adams was riding high, but in private he was falling about and apart.
Adams is after his man, but Barnes will not.
The 1989 League Championship decider was a north-south clash of titans. Arsenal needed 2 goals to snatch the trophy from Liverpool, and salvation came in the last minute of injury time.
Finding Smith for Thomas, charging through the midfield. Thomas, it's up for grabs now. Thomas, right at the end. An unbelievable climax to the league season.
Tony was ahead of that success, and he was lifting up trophies, 21, 22 years of age. I mean, he must have thought, this is easy, this career, this is simple. Here am I, the youngest captain ever in Arsenal's history, picking up these wonderful trophies. Hey, this should go on for the next 10, 15 years.
Enormous jubilation, enormous feeling of joy. So suppress it all with alcohol, because that's what you do.
When the cheering ended, Tony Adams was left with a void that only drink could fill.
Woke up the next day, the Saturday, hungover and pretty lonely actually. And if I'd stopped to feel the loneliness for 2 minutes, but I didn't. I just rounded up a few guys because we needed to celebrate, and got drunk all day Saturday. And then got a cab late, about 4 o'clock in the morning, to Highbury, and slept on the marble stairs outside the Grand before we prayed the cup in the morning. I was the first one there with the guy that opened up the stadium, Paddy Gallagher, and he opened, congratulations.
Adams joined his teammates to tour the streets of North London in celebratory mood. Cheering fans threw him cans of beer.
Oh, absolutely ecstatic. Really delighted for the players who have worked very hard. Delighted for the fans.
It was the Scottish manager's finest hour. Graham had played for Arsenal 2 decades earlier and gave his young team a sense of history. He was a disciplinarian who'd make Arsenal great again. The squad dubbed him Gaddafi.
I think in every walk of life, whether it's sport or business, there's got to be an element of fear that people say, right, if the bosses walked in, are we all working to maximum? Are we all near? Are we all, behaving ourselves? Now, if there's no fear, then you get people doing their own thing. You get a bit of anarchy, about the place.
See, I was very frightened of my boss, and I used to drink on that one. I used to keep the anger down because I was afraid of it. Because afraid if I didn't drink on that one, I would hit him.
I wouldn't have liked to think he'd have hit me, because I think it was too big for me. Far too big, there's no way I'd hit him back.
I was very scared of him. I couldn't confront him. I couldn't assert myself. I used the anger he gave me with my own anger and threw it out at the other boys. And I never stood up to him on any issues.
Put a lot of pressure on players verbally, and with his presence he did have a very, very big aura about him, but in a way that he was domineering. But that's the way he managed, and that's the way he moulded a team of kids really into winning the championship twice and having the success he did.
Graham was a remote figure and liked it that way. Adams was his voice, and it suited both of them that much of the team building took place at the bar.
My way of bonding with the team of the past would be to take them down the pub and get them drunk, and to try to get some of their true feelings out.
We used to go out now and again for a drink. After training on a Tuesday, there was a little gang of players who, because we worked really hard on the George, and Monday, Tuesday was 2 really hard days, especially Tuesday, and then we had the Wednesday off.
Some of them went home at 5, back to their wives and families, and I couldn't really understand. Some stayed toe-to-toe all night and ended up the gutter with me.
I'd be getting home at 3s and 4s in the morning, but that was general, and I think, I mean, in a Tuesday inland, we'd meet Spurs players and QPR and everybody else.
The manager demanded a professional approach to play on and off the pitch. The drinkers on the squad resorted to old tricks to hide their boozing.
You'd get the old wet tops on and you'd be out there on the pitch or the bin bags, wherever it was, and you'd sweat it out. And you would really work and punish your body and what you thought was sweating out the alcohol and getting rid of it all through your system.
We banned that a few years ago, where our players would put a bin bag on to try and sweat out the night before. A lot of players used to do it to try and reduce their weight, and they'd wear a bin line underneath their training kit. We wouldn't know they were doing it because it'd be underneath their kit. So they'd go into the toilet, put it on, put their kit on. When they're coming from training, go into the toilet, rip it off and throw it in the bin.
Adams learned to time his drinking bouts to stay sober for matches, but he miscalculated at Swindon and Everton.
I was drunk, night before, and I got up on the day of the game, and I recall still feeling a bit wobbly, feeling a bit shaky, and I had one for the road, as we used to say, but it was more in desperation because I was thinking maybe this might help settle me down a bit, because I knew I was never going to sober up in time.
As I recall, I think we were all having a bit of a laugh and a joke about it, and Tone was laughing and joking, and the gaffer didn't know, or if he did know, he didn't say. And it'd be interesting if he had known, would he have said anything? I don't know.
Against Sheffield United, he was over the limit and was still made man of the match.
Could we have won a lot more trophies? I mean, that's the sad thing about it, you know. I mean, we did win a lot, 6 and 8 years, major trophies in 8 years. And I mean, that's with him and Paul Merson towards the end. They weren't drinking like that. I don't believe it. They couldn't have done.
And I got on, I remember playing at Luton, I was well drunk. Yeah, at Luton I run down the wing, there was no one near me, I fell over the ball.
It's January, and Adams is touring health farms. His charity will tailor therapy to individual athletes battling a variety of addictions, and finding the right environment for treatment is essential.
So what sort of people come here apart from footballers like yourself?
Who comes here? I think anybody and everybody. I think people that want to chill out. There's numerous things that they offer here. Massage. There's a pool. I think we're going to see a few things. Sorry, ladies. You can look at this. It looks like one of those vibrating beds, doesn't it? Sorry, have we? He's there. Sorry, we've got to get out of here. Specialists. Peaceful.
Would this really be ideal for your purposes then, being able to send someone to a place like this?
I think there's everything that I need here. You know, I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not, but in my judgment, there's a tennis court there, there's a swimming pool there, there's a lake, and there's a peaceful environment. There's good food, there's nutritionists, there's, great people that I love and trust in the therapists and the counsellors, and the families can come at weekends and chill out. No one's going to be out of place here. No one's going to know that they're here. No one's going to know that what they're here for. And it just creates a lovely environment. If someone wants to get well, then they possibly can here.
If the charity had enough money, would you be interested in setting up a place like this, big grounds, big house?
No, I think it's got drawbacks. I think you've got the Betty Ford Clinic. No disrespect, they've got people clean and sober, and they've done their stuff for years, and the Priory have as well. You know, I'm not taking nothing away. It's just in my judgment that I feel that this environment constitutes a better place for people to get well. I'd shift them around, you know, as well. I don't think I wanted to be in one kind of area.
Right.
You know, and it seems silly to bring a player from the Midlands, for instance, or a person, you know, from the Midlands all the way down south to here when his family, you know, I'm looking at family therapy and things like that.
Back in 1990, Adams could have used some peace and quiet. After an own goal against Manchester United and some lacklustre games for England, he was suffering the taunts of hostile elements in the crowd and the press. The donkey noises and the showers of carrots caused anguish that led to yet more drinking.
We went to this pub that I knew and we drank all night, and then we drove home and we went in. He stayed on the sofa bed, and that morning girlfriend brought the papers up and it had Eeyore everywhere and everything. You know, it had the donkey's ear rolls. That's when it first come out, the donkey one. And I didn't take the papers down to him. I wish I did now, because he pissed my sofa bed. He weed all over the sofa bed. That was his party trick. He couldn't stop weeing beds.
I wasn't particularly liked throughout the country. You know, the donkey label was there. You know, I had that pretty much everywhere I went. I lived in a West Ham area, and I got that at the school. I got that everywhere. And it was another reason why I drank. But it was another reason I couldn't handle that, so I drank more.
And I think we played West Ham not long after that away. He took several abuse, but it never seemed to trouble him.
It fueled me with resentment and with retaliation, and my retaliation to do well at football. I thought if I proved myself at doing my job well, then the rest of the world would accept me. You know, if I thought that I'd be number one, that I'd win that. Didn't realise what I was doing to myself, but I thought I could have the last laugh on everybody else.
The season over, Adams was laughing, but the joke was about to wear thin. The day he was to leave Britain to tour the Far East with Arsenal, he went on a bender, one he'd never forget.
My season's ended, you know, active alcoholic, you kind of, I'm drinking. You know, football's done. It doesn't constitute as sobering up for, I suppose, or getting myself together for, because tours are tours, and it was kind of a justified time to drink. And I know I've got a 13-hour flight, and if I let that one come up anyway, I'm scared of flying, so let's just get out of the game. But the problem with that is that I've lost my car and it's in Canvey Island, and I've got it back, and it's a roasting hot day. And I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. My mate, who's picked us up and took me to find my car, I said, let's have one on the way back, eh? We'll have a drink on the way back. So I went into the pub and had several, and befriended some other drinking people, and they were having a barbecue. I looked at my watch and it was like 3-ish, and I knew the flight was about 7 at Heathrow. So I'll come for a couple. So we went round and people were getting drunk, and I was getting drunk, and I looked at my watch and it was 6 o'clock, and I'd actually left myself an hour to get from Billericay to Heathrow. I got in my car and I drove at about 100 miles an hour, however fast I was going, and lost control because I was drunk and crashed it. And how I survived, God only knows. I put my seatbelt on, I don't know why. It was an era of my life where I never used my seatbelt. Police came and said, have you had a drink? Which I thought was a bit hilarious because I couldn't hardly stand up. The people that, the house that I'd wrecked, the brick wall that I'd wrecked, actually said, do you want a drink? And I just thought, whiskey, scotch, brandy. But I could see they probably meant tea now or coffee. But looking back, I thought it was hilarious that they would offer me a drink knowing the state of me. You know, the police came, took me to the cell. I was more concerned about doing what I had to do to get on the plane to go to Singapore, because I knew I was enormously late now. They took a breath test, and then they released me with court date. I got in. My mate who'd followed me to the police station got me in the car and driven me around the M25.
As his teammates checked in at Heathrow and journalists got first reports of a sensational road accident in Essex, Tony Adams was once again travelling at high speed, bound for an uncertain future. Having gone from national hero to criminal via a brick wall, Tony Adams was driven to Heathrow in an attempt to join Arsenal's 1990 tour of the Far East.
He missed the coach at the stadium where we'd all meet up and go on a coach to London Airport. And I thought we were actually going to go to Singapore without him, because you know, he was even late coming there, and eventually turned out a bit worse for wear.
I had a little glass in my hair still where I've had the car crash, and I had flip-flops and my Arsenal uniform on, and that's it. I managed just to get them bits together, and I got on a plane, and the directors were there, the chairman was there, and George was there, and they just absolutely, ignored me. And I felt very low and very enormously sad and alone.
I didn't realise the seriousness of it when he was telling me. I mean, you know, when players tell you, especially to the manager, they try to downplay it.
He came and said, oh, we've got a court date of 2 days before Christmas or something ridiculous. And it was like, Tony Adams up for drink driving.
There were fears that an example would be made of the soccer star. They were justified. He was jailed for 4 months. George Graham's fury was directed at the judiciary, not Adams.
George was the most angry out of anyone when I was at the court. He really did go mad. He was very protective of me. He hurt, it hurt him as well.
Everybody could see there the friends he had in court, so he was speaking on his behalf. But I think appeal. What do you think? Speak to his lawyers about that. That's all I want to say at the present time, okay? I thought the judgment was more than harsh, extremely harsh, only because they were sending out a message to everybody else. This is what's going to happen if we get any more drink driving over the Christmas period.
And there was a lot of other people telling me that I didn't deserve to be in there for what I did, and I'm not a proper criminal and all this stuff, which, whether it's true or not, it doesn't really bother me today. The point of the matter is that me abusing alcohol got me into prison. Simple as that.
Adams was sent to Chelmsford Prison. He served 58 days.
And I was scared, and I was lonely, and I was in a cell. But I also had a lot of tools that made me a very successful footballer. And I used them. I played games, as in card games, coin games, jokes, anything, to avoid the way that I was feeling.
It was a short, sharp shock, and it failed.
It didn't stop me drinking. It wasn't a turning point. Yeah, it was pain, but it had me. Alcohol had me. I had to go a lot lower.
There were those that called for Adams' dismissal, but George Graham stood by his captain, and within weeks of his release, his captain lifted the First Division Championship trophy.
If you've got an Austin Morris and it breaks down, you throw it away. You don't throw a Rolls Royce away. Arsenal ain't silly. You're sitting on one of the best centre-halves of all time in English football. And he breaks down, but you don't throw it away.
Today, like many recovering alcoholics, Adams regularly attends sessions where addicts tell their stories. For ex-prisoner number LE1561, meetings of the Rehabilitation of Addicted Prisoners Trust have a special resonance.
My name's Tony, I'm an alcoholic addict, and it's really good to be here actually. I feel okay. And why am I here? Maybe because I don't want to pick up my drink or drug again, I don't want to get complacent. I've got a great life today, and it wasn't always that way.
It was important to me to go back into an environment like that, sober, basically, and to walk out of there sober, and to see how it felt. Because I pretty much shut down when I went into Chelmsford, and it's important for my recovery and to give back. I know what it feels like to be in prison, and there's a lot of guys in there that have picked up a drink and found themselves in prison. I used to have so much self-loathing inside, it was horrendous, self-hatred. I used to smash bottles on my head like that. You know, I don't have to do that today. I don't have to do that today, and that's all because I got saved a few years ago when some guy said to me, do you fancy an AA meeting? And I was willing and ready and beaten enough to accept it and try to work a program of recovery. And like I say, I'm really pleased that you've given me the time to share my stuff, and it keeps me well. Thanks very much.
When Adams went to prison in 1990, he'd just started a relationship. Not surprisingly, Jane Shea worked behind a bar.
The only women I'm meeting, relationships-wise, is when I'm drinking. And most of the time, I'm drinking to excess. So how do you make, you know, when you've got all that, suppressing all the feelings around that, you know, how do you know if you're acting out of lust or acting out of love or acting out of, you know, whatever?
Jane and Tony were married in July 1992. Always a man in search of a celebration, the groom drank heavily from breakfast time and was in blackout for much of the service and this reception. Today, he has this video in place of memories.
Everyone's grounded, everyone's gone. But you enjoy yourself, have a good time and get this.
Marriage is another excuse when you're allowed to drink excessively. You know, in my head, I was allowed to drink excessively, which was, you know, red rag to a bull. And I went through it. It was a 12 o'clock wedding, and I was drinking brandy at about 11 o'clock, and I can't remember the evening. That's what I did.
The 1993 season was a good one for Arsenal. George Graham's methods were bearing fruit, and the back four of Adams, Bold, Dixon and Winterburn seemed impregnable. The Londoners took both League and FA Cups. Football was still Adams' first drug of choice, and it could keep him on the straight and narrow for up to 90 minutes. But by now the drink was taking its toll on the 26-year-old captain. A year into his marriage it was falling apart, and his baby son wasn't seeing enough of him. 9 years on, Adams is back where he started out as a boy, a windy playing field and a Sunday League semi-final. Oliver Adams is now the star. His father, just another voice on the touchline cheering for Feltham Wanderers, making up for the lost years.
Would the dangers inherent in the game stop you encouraging him?
No, it's wonderful. They're innocent. You can see them here. They just love every minute of it, and those kids love it. So no, if you want to, I'm really pleased that he's nothing like me, to be honest with you. Not physically, but the way he plays. You know, he's not interested in, like I was, sitting at the, you know, I used to be at the back, kicking everyone. He doesn't seem to want to do that. He don't want to be at the back, which I'm kind of pleased with, really. So he's really dissimilar to me. Oliver, did you have a chance?
Yeah.
With your head?
Yeah.
Short answers. I used to be like that.
Did you?
No, all used to go in now. Very sensitive.
Dad, how much money do you get a day?
I don't know, mate. Enough. We've got enough.
Do you get more than 1,000?
Interesting. My kid's fascinated with money as well. Don't know if there's a good or bad thing.
Daddy,
What's that, baby?
do you get more than 1,000?
Oh, I don't know. Got enough for food and stuff, haven't we?
Yes.
We used to have a joke, Ray Parlour and me. We used to say, like, you know, we'd stand outside the hospital waiting for people to, you know, have children so we can go and wet their baby's head. You know, it don't matter who it was. And we'd say, oh, right, what's your baby called? Right, OK, thanks, right, great. And then we'd go and run to the pub and go, oh, this one's for Charlie, oh, this one's for...
Yeah.
There you go.
Adams began his drinking career as a youth, and Sporting Chance wants to reach out to young players like these in the Ipswich Town Academy before they're led into temptation. Spreading the word about damage to health and career, Sporting Chance Education Officer Peter Kay is on tour with Wolves star and recovering alcoholic Alex Ray, sober for 3 years.
So addiction is a big word. It can cover what we're going to deal with mostly today is alcohol. But usually what we have found is that people who have become addicted to alcohol are also cross-addicted to other drugs. Alex is going to share with you as well some of his experience. Alex is a professional footballer who has lived what I'm talking about.
I was just saying to Peter on the way down here, I thought, God, if somebody was coming in here and I was about 17 or 18 and I was talking about drinking, I'd have went bollocks. I know everything there is to know about drinking. And I think when I look back, I got my first apprenticeship at Rangers, and that was at 16. And even before then, I used to like a good drink. And I remember being in the nightclub, at my first nightclub, and I was with a few of the top players. And I'm standing there, and one of the senior guys who was pretty sensible come up to me and said to me, "What are you doing here?" I thought, "I'm doing what the all yous are doing." I didn't realise at that time that young boys weren't supposed to do that. And within about 18 months, I was getting kicked out of Ibrox as a young lad, and I was absolutely devastated, as you can imagine, because I know a lot of boys are under pressure to get that first contract. And just by pure luck, Falkirk, that big team in Scotland, came in and they actually offered us a few quid signing on fee. And my thought process was I'll just go out and enjoy myself, because by that stage I was out jumping all the nightclubs and all that. Nothing had changed. I wound up in the Priory just over 3.5 years ago, and I was a total mess. Football-wise, my career's been pretty no bad, but I often wonder what it really could have been like.
In August 1996, when Tony Adams had finally faced a pint of beer he just couldn't stomach, he was alone in a bed wet with bitter tears, with nowhere to go and no one to turn to.
I didn't know where to go or what to do. For some reason, I got in the car and went into work, even though I was injured. I went into work and was met by Paul Merson and a guy called Steve Jacobs in the car park, who I muttered the words to. Paul, I said to Paul, "Paul, I think I've got a drinking problem." And he said, "Join the club."
You know, you could just come in the car park and say, "I've got a drink problem." You know, that's it. As soon as you say that, you're there. You're there. You know, as soon as you admit to yourself that you've got a problem, you know, you're 3/4 of the way there.
My experience of surrender was, I think, you could call it, it's only my explanation, but a spiritual, a religious thing, maybe. You know, I knew that I was beaten, and I knew I couldn't get out. I knew I'd, call it, my description again. My end, my I don't know where to go. My moment of clarity, and I asked at a deep level of a higher power for help, and Paul Merson walked into my life.
Merson was then football's most famous ex-drinker. He took his teammate to Alcoholics Anonymous, and within a month Adams felt ready to come out to those around him. He faced them on the training ground.
"I'm Tony Adams and I'm alcoholic." I think it was something to that effect, and walked straight off out, and we all just sat there dumbfounded. We hadn't got a clue.
And it was like, "Oh, we know you like a drink, Tone, but you're not that bad." But you could see in his emotional state that it was a real big thing for him to own up to it, his problems, and actually tell his teammates, and that it wasn't just I like a couple of drinks on a Tuesday. It was a real life-threatening problem for him.
With the support of his teammates, there was one more hurdle to face. The press were waiting in the car park. Having told his teammates about his addiction, Tony Adams faced the press.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do. You've got 2 minutes. I've actually got to go and pick my kids up.
Stand still, can you, mate?
You'll get together.
All right.
I'm doing it, not you.
We're trying to make you look good. The sun's in the wrong place.
Thanks, Tony. I'll give you 2 minutes, honestly. I've got to go and pick my kids up, so you've got 2 minutes.
Okay, Tony.
Sure.
It's obviously a difficult day for you.
Well, it's not just happened. It's been a long time, and I'm on the road to recovery now.
It's not just happened overnight. I'd like to make that point clear.
How hard was it telling the other lads, Tony?
That was a very big obstacle for me. I'm not living a lie anymore, which is great. Feel a lot better for it. And
how long did it take you to come to that decision, Tony?
29 years.
Is Paul helping you at all, Tony?
Paul's been fantastic for me. Obviously, he understands me. He knows what I'm going through, and he's been there for me.
In the feeding frenzy that followed the announcement, reporters scrambled for their checkbooks.
No, nothing at all. Come on for money. It's about me.
And the moment I did that, it was like a shift inside. Something happened, you know, and I cried and tears come out, like tears of years of hurt and sadness and loneliness and anger. Just feel like it all kind of came out. And it's probably the first time I've ever not got emotional with it, actually, saying there. So time heals, and a lot of healing's gone on in the last 5 years. But it still hurts me, and I have to hang on to it. And the reason I do is because I'm a human being and I forget. And if I forget that bottom, I'm going to think that I'm cured. I'm going to think that I'm okay. I'm going to think that I can drink again. And it's the illness that tells you that you haven't got it, which is baffling and cunning.
I never actually knew the full extent of it until he came out of the closet, so to speak, about his drinking. I didn't know it was that bad until then.
Nobody noticed he was an alcoholic. Do you find that hard to believe?
Yes. Yes. Find that hard to believe, because sometimes he tells me now, usually we had Wednesday off, but sometimes he left Tuesday afternoon here, went to the pub and came to the training on the Thursday morning still drunk. So maybe people found that normal at the time.
February 2002. A celebrity feast and a wax icon of an icon lure a well-heeled crowd to a chic London hotel. The gala dinner is the money spinner Tony Adams needs if he's going to make the charity work.
Very odd how anyone would want that in the house, really, isn't it?
There's been much agonising about wining while dining, but it's been decided that in this culture and at this time, it's still hard to sell a gourmet meal without alcohol.
This would do.
Adams drinks water.
Thank you very much. The first auction prize up are David Seaman's signed football shirt and gloves. I think we're starting at £1,000, ladies and gentlemen. £1,000. Someone give me £300. £300, thank you, sir. This is worth £800 to £1,000, folks. Piece of that road. 3-0, 4-2 at the moment, 4-4. 4-4 it is, once, twice. Congratulations, you've got yourself a big sound to the time. 4-4.
This is the biggest so far, and it's the launch, and I always think that people are a little more reluctant when it gets established and people have heard about how good this one was, then next year it will obviously be a lot better, I would have thought. But even so saying, it's still raised, I would say, in the region of about 40,000.
That it's possible to organise a footballer's dinner in celebration of sobriety and have more than enough for a five-a-side match turn up is a sign of the times. Inevitably, there will be some who feel a sense of loss if football's coming home from the pub.
I was raised very much in an era that the saying was win, draw, lose, must booze. And it was very much a drinking culture. And you used to play the game hard and then drink hard afterwards.
In every country you face a different problem. In England the problem was a drinking problem, but not only the players. I think the whole society had a drinking problem. So the football society only reflects the problem of a society.
I think, you know, all the teams were going out and drinking. You know, you'd go out somewhere and you'd see some players from another club and things like that. If you'd done that now, I don't care if you're one of the best teams, you wouldn't finish anywhere. You know, we come 6th, 7th or 8th every season. If we went out every week, we'd near on get relegated.
My idea of getting the boys together in a different atmosphere today is maybe through psychology or through team meetings or go-karting or, you know, or numerous things. And I would have laughed at these things in the past and say, oh, why are you going down there? Let's go down the pub.
I think it was quite strange for everybody because he was quoting poetry all of a sudden and going to the theatre and going to Michelin-starred restaurants and talking about all the Sloane girls and everything else that Tone never spoke about and did. And I think he has a little laugh to himself these days about how he has changed. And some of the lads will look at him sometimes and say, "You sure, Tone?"
I've never seen anybody change so much, ever. Ever.
The tape is long enough to describe how much he's changed. It's been not frightening, it's the wrong word, phenomenal change from what he was like when he was drinking to towards the end of his drinking. And the change in him has been so big. I mean, he's a nice man.
When they see Tony Adams out there playing football, they know that all the feelings that I go through, they're getting an honest, genuine person, you know, that wants to win for him, wants to win for his manager, wants to win for Arsenal, and wants to win for the supporters.
Winning the FA Cup and the Premiership in the same year was the crowning achievement of Adams' sober career and Arsene Wenger's new management. George Graham made Adams the player he was. Now the Frenchman had reaped the rewards.
And it was so important if we go back and to do everything for me and for Arsenal and for the supporters and for the club to win the double. That was so important because they got the true me. They got me as a human being. And I went through anger because we lost one week, you know, pain, hurt, sadness, love, you know, all emotions that I was meant to go through over the course of that year, and came away with the trophy of, yes, the double, but also of, you've done a good job there, well done. I don't regret the past. I feel that I've come to the place where I am today because of it. You know, that everyone we meet, every place we go, every experience we have makes who I am today. You know, I pick up things and hopefully learn from things and move on. And I don't regret the past. It was part of my process. And thank God I'm here today, you know, sharing it.
I personally feel that he has gone through the most difficult period. I'm very confident that he will not fall back. But you never know in life. I don't know, maybe I can start to drink tomorrow for any reason. I don't know, you never know about yourself anyway. We are all always in danger or in a possible addiction problem.
Football Stories returns in 2 weeks, and the Channel 4 book Football Stories, Bad Boys and Hard Men is out now, priced at £9.99. To order, call 0870 1234 344 or click on to channel4.com/shop. Well, next on 4, Monica's huge, Joey's really successful, and Ross is on for a threesome. They're friends, but not as we know them.